All right, welcome to the Brews and Business podcast. You can step into the shoes of everyday small business owners and entrepreneurs as you'll hear the stories and experiences to help you grow your business. We're drinking today the iced caramel cloud macchiato made by yours truly. I'm your host, Braden Cruz with Sooner Marketing Solutions, recording live at the Blue Studio. I want you to meet your co-hosts here, as always. I got Abel Rodriguez. I can't ever say your last name correctly. Rodriguez. Nope, still can't do it.
Rodriguez. Come on, man.
I need that R in there. Yeah,
Okay.
welcome.
I'll
Hey,
teach you eventually.
how's it going? How are you?
Pretty good.
Good.
Friday.
Good. Yeah, it is Friday. And I got Stone Shoe with Stone Cold Downflow. What's up, my guy?
Downflow. What's up, man?
There
How
you
we doing?
go. Say that into the
I'm good.
microphone.
I'm great. It's a good day. Friday.
We're missing Chance, but he's working on a big car show tomorrow. He'll be in Arkansas, so he's preparing his Audi A7. And man, that thing is a beast. I don't know if you guys haven't seen it yet, but that thing is a monster. I love it. So today's podcast, we're going to be talking about the hustle culture and kind of two different aspects. I think it'd be good to talk about one, the hustle side that we all have as owners and entrepreneurs, and then two, the hustle culture, quote unquote. If you Google search it and you do a little research, it's all about like, employees that overwork themselves and stuff like that. And it's like, oh, you need to overdo this. And so I think we can talk about it from two different areas. And Abel, if you got some notes here in front of you that we can share back and forth. But man, I don't know about you guys, but I've been hustling since I was 4.
I want to hear the story behind that. Why
Do
since you were 4?
What were you hustling?
Yeah.
So let's see here, 4 or 5. I had sold lemonade and donuts and pizza slices, hot chocolate,
Anything and everything.
hot dogs and hamburgers. We used to have a neighborhood garage sale growing up, and this would be huge. Like the whole neighborhood would shut down. There would have to be like people would park in other neighborhoods and walk like half a mile, and
For you?
there'd be
For you?
No,
Oh.
but I got stories behind that too, which is pretty cool. But so it was a really huge event. So growing up between like 4 and 12 years old, like literally young, almost every other year, when I was real little starting out, I would help out my family with the garage sale part. And what I started to do when I think I was closer to 6 or 7 was I was like, Mom, I want to make some money. And she's like, well, why don't we sell lemonade at the garage sale every September? It's right about this time. And she'd help me do that. And then next year I would do like donuts. I'd wake up at like 4 o'clock in the morning, go to Krispy Kreme, buy like 6 or 12 dozen boxes of donuts, a whole bunch. Go to Quick Trip and get one of those thermoses full of like hot chocolate or coffees and sell those in the morning. And then there was some years where I would do that. And then for lunch, I'd sell pizza. I'd order like 12 boxes of pizza and sell pizza by the slice. And some years I would take chalk and I would go from like the entrances of the neighborhoods and I would put on the sidewalk, I'd say, hot chocolate, 50 cents, and put an arrow. And I would do that all the way to my house.
That's pretty smart.
And I think one year I did like little flyer signs. I'd post them up on the light poles and stuff like that. So there's this one story too where I wanted a bird. I don't remember what kind of bird it was, but I went and bought candy bars from like Warehouse Market and then sold them for like $1 and just like knocked on doors and been like, hey, I want a bird. I'm selling candy bars. They're $1. And so I know some people buy like a candy bar and give me $5. I wound up saving up like $60, $75, bought my bird, got everything I needed. There's little things too that I would do, like go and water plants for my neighbor while she was out of town, or I mowed lawns, all that stuff. And I know you're familiar with that, Abel. That's the space that you're in, right?
Correct. And actually, with you saying that, so similar concept when I was young. Started probably 6 or 7 years old. In first grade, if I remember correctly, I used to take candy from the house, and I'd sell it to my classmates because right about that time, I don't remember necessarily who's president, but one of the president's first ladies or whatever decided to take all the vending machines out of a school. And there was like this big assembly over like, hey, by the way, we're getting rid of all the sugary drinks, all the stuff in school. I just saw that as an opportunity to start selling candy. So if you can't get it anymore from the vending machines, well, I got the hookup. I was shut down on that pretty quick by the principal. Said, hey, you can't be doing that in school. I'm like, well, why not? Like, I'm not hurting anybody.
I did the same thing. I did gum. You remember the whole gum phase in middle school?
Yep. And it's the same thing. So I think it's funny, we always knew we were going to be entrepreneurs. We just didn't realize it then.
When and how it was happening.
Right.
What kind of signs
Exactly.
determine that?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then whenever I think I was 11 or so at that time of my life, there's everybody's getting their cell phones. Everybody's getting all this cool shit. And my mom was like, no, plain no. And eventually I convinced her that if I could pay for it, I could have these things. And one of those first things was like, I wanted a phone. I wanted a phone just like everybody else. So I actually, ARCs is the second iteration for my lawn care and outdoor space work. But my younger brother and a friend of mine, my mom owned a store next to like a mobile home park. And we literally would load up a mower and walk down the mobile home park and mow as many houses as we could. And I just wanted to buy a phone. I mean, that's all I wanted. And then, like I said, it just, as Stone said, like all those signals were there. We just didn't realize it. You were just trying to buy a bird or get a phone or, whatever. And it's like, as you get older, you start to realize like, yeah, this is much easier than going to work for somebody. Well, not easier, but more rewarding. That's for sure.
Yeah.
What about you, Stone? I'm sure you've got a similar story.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't really flipping the packs in the elementary days, but I mean, I had always sold through high school. That's for sure. I mean, it was a given. I was getting my money. My parents didn't like it,
Right.
but I was still, they wouldn't give me anything. It was no handouts. Like, my parents were fortunate; they had everything that I needed, but they were like, "You're not getting that shit."
But you had to earn the stuff you wanted.
Yeah.
That wasn't a necessity.
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
They made you earn it. Really, it was huge if I got good grades, I could get everything I wanted. But I didn't get good grades.
Right,
I was
right.
fucking off in school. I had no interest in that shit. So I was like, what, I'm going to get my own money.
Right.
Regardless.
And I think you shared it maybe today, maybe yesterday on Facebook of that, like, the kid that was always sleeping or had terrible grades.
Yeah, that was today.
Probably ends up being a business owner. And it's like, man, that's honestly so true, is because I don't know about you guys, but for me, it's like, well, you don't have good grades. You're not in sports. You're not like, scholarships, pretty well out the window, So it's like, well, what are you going to do? You're going to hustle. You're going to figure it out. And I actually went to college for 4 years, paid for it all. And the reality is it was biggest waste of time, biggest waste of effort. And then that was really, like, I would say my biggest hustle phase, in a sense of, like, as I was younger and realizing what I could accomplish, because I literally put myself through 4 years of college, and that shit's expensive, And then now looking back, I'm like, well, that was a huge waste of resources, waste of energy, but at least I don't have student loans, which at this point would have been forgiven, apparently, but either way, like, I didn't get those handouts, and it was that realization of, like, working for someone would have been fine, I think, for me. But the reality is there's that limitation of you're only going to achieve whatever they allow you to achieve. And being a business owner allows you to be creative in how you achieve what it is you want to achieve. Right. Which could be, I mean, a number of things. Really, it could be, and I just happened to choose, well, not choose, it kind of chose me, but landscaping. And it's been phenomenal, really.
Did landscaping choose you, or did you choose landscaping?
Man, I'm Mexican. It's kind of in the genes. I'm good at it.
It hits you and you just take off running.
That's really all it is.
It's what you know. It's what you're best at.
That's it.
You just run it.
You feel comfortable doing it.
Yeah, you build the confidence. You're like, I can. Any problem you put in front of me, I'm solving it. Because I've been around the people that have done it, and
which I think goes back to that hustle of maybe whenever you started off, you didn't realize you could solve all these problems or that you could do it, but you just said it. You build that confidence, and you're like, you know what, I'm gonna figure it out. Why? Because this is a great opportunity for me, so long as I can keep it going. Which I think, as business owners, that's a lot of the hustle culture comes in to ourselves, self-inflicted, and that aspect of, yeah, I can take that on, even though you know damn well you don't know how you're gonna take it on.
Yeah.
But you self-inflict it because you've proven yourself right so many times that I can figure it out. Which, again, as an employee, that's a different mindset. But as a business owner, man, that challenge is something you almost
getting it for yourself
want.
is way different than, I mean, nobody that works for you is ever going to do it like you are.
No.
Like, you put that project in front of someone, they might fold if they're not doing it for themselves.
Right. Now, there could be that, every now and again, we get lucky.
You come across a
yeah,
leprechaun.
you get that person. Right. Right. But
I've got a couple leprechauns.
yeah,
I
you do.
don't know how they do it.
You do. And
try to instill some good values, And I've got like that, I don't know, hustle, grind, like, do it until the job gets done kind of mentality. Like, we got a job to do,
Get it done.
Yeah.
So being that the topic's on hustle culture, the big culture aspect of that, being that it is a culture, it's more or less like putting everything to the side and being so divulged in your business that nothing else matters. I want to know, has there been a time where you realized that has happened and you had to like take a step back and figure it out, realign yourself? Or was there a time where you realized that and you actually were like, you know what, I love this. I'm going to dig deeper into this right now. I'm curious to hear if either of you have had instances like that.
Yeah. I mean, me recently, I was hustling that I didn't think I could hustle. And then it was just, everything else outside of business was just falling to shambles. Like, I saved it, but I had to throw up my parachute and just, let the business breathe and not have to hustle so hard, because quality of life and family and, home, you got to take care of your home. And yeah, it was just too much. So I don't know. I feel like it comes in waves,
That's what I was thinking too.
You have
like
a mindset.
Sprints.
Yeah, you have a mindset, and then you have your goals, and sometimes the mindset. It's where discipline comes into play. But you have your mindset, and some days you wake up and it's just like maybe I do need to spend more time with my family. Maybe I should lay off the hustle a little bit and try and keep things at least cordial for me. I mean, shit.
Well, and at the same time, it's like, why are we doing all this?
Yeah.
I feel like
to one day have some freedom.
That's it.
Right?
That's exactly
at the end of the day, it's going to take years to put in the work, but
and we're full and aware of that.
Given.
And
you have to put
But then
it
I also feel like, to some degree, like I still have the freedom to decide what am I again, I say to some degree, decide what I'm going to do today. If I need to take care of my boys in the morning and show up late at 9:00 and my schedule allows for that, I can do that. So I think in the aspect when you talk about freedom, you don't necessarily mean that, oh yeah, I'm going to go work on the beach today and take off for the next 2 weeks and hopefully still have a paycheck, right? Or make a profit or whatever. But I think, yeah, it's definitely nice to kind of have that freedom. But
yeah, control of your schedule.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to answer the phone if you don't want to,
But
I still have to.
But you should hire someone
you
to
have
answer
to.
the
Yeah,
phone.
you have to. But me, sometimes I'm just like, I'll get to you later.
Right, because
I'm
you're not in
the
that
mood.
mental state.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
And I think with that, it's the industries have a lot to do with that. Sometimes, if you're in the middle of working, in the middle of that physical job, it's like, but I don't have the mental capacity to retain whatever it is I need to talk to you about.
Yeah. Like,
so you have to wait, take your little break, and then you're like, all right, I got to call and then you get into a whole different mindset.
Yeah.
That you're like, all right, well, now I need to make a bunch of callbacks. I need to touch base with people. I need to, it's just that shift of that mindset.
Yeah.
But talking on the whole aspect of, like you said, throwing your parachute, in the past. So I had an instance about a year ago where I actually had a full-blown mental breakdown. I don't necessarily remember what happened, but I was in a state where I was trying to grind a little harder and not necessarily working more hours or doing anything, but I was putting myself in a lot of uncomfortable positions. I was, starting to associate with people I had never associated with. I was starting to do other business work that I hadn't done before. Because as we know, there's a difference between working in the business, working on the business. I started to make that shift to work more on the business, and it was extremely uncomfortable. I mean, it's just, this is not productive.
It's like you're
Doesn't
letting go of the rope, and you
Yeah,
got to be able to learn how to trust people.
Yeah, it's really weird.
But the other thing that's weird too that I'm still learning, and I still want to hear more though, is like learning how to trust people. And I think it comes back to you and that person building out the process and making the relationship to be able to know that they got it, right?
Yeah,
Like
100%.
I've been able to learn that with Devin. Like last year, like when we started, it was probably like 4 to 6 months before I was just like, all right, I don't need to be involved anymore.
Right.
You know, like I still love to be involved in what we do. And then same thing with like Bobby, it was like, and like we're still involved really heavily in everything that we do because sales leads generates revenue and all that stuff. So like we still have to talk about projections and all that kind of stuff too. And then Maddie just onboarded like quick.
Yeah.
And I think that's because partially one, it's a lot on her, credit to her to just being able to adapt that quick and learn, but then also giving a little credit to me and the team on this is how we've built things. And she's been able to kind of easily just kind of grow and adapt and then adjust to how she works.
Yeah.
Right.
Implement the system that you have going already.
Yeah. Right.
And
So see, whenever I started working on the business, I didn't.
What's
have
up,
that.
Krista?
I didn't have that, and I still don't. As you know, I don't have those processes built. You know, I'm working on building those processes. So whenever
I told you we need to get together and put together poster boards and sticky
we
notes. That's
will.
what I did.
We will.
Yeah.
But you know, there's a lot of other grinding to happen at the same time.
And making the time to do that's hard.
That's true. But in that time when I had that mental breakdown, like I said, I was just putting myself in a lot of uncomfortable positions. And at the time I felt like I was taking on more than I should. And it's a lot of that comes down to like, you guys know, as soon as you guys, so I'll kind of put it in perspective. Let's say you start doing a different style of guttering, or you decide to start a podcast. There's a whole different set of tools you need. There's a whole different strategy you need. And I more or less started working on the business, and I needed different tools. I needed different strategy. I needed a different process. And I was plain and simple, like trying to figure it out. And then one day I woke up. I had said yes. I was going to sub for a meeting that I had never been to before for a friend of mine. And I knew it wasn't necessarily a big deal, but it was something I'd never done before. I didn't have someone hold my hand. So I was like mentally really psyched up about this meeting. And I woke up in the morning, I go out and I'm like looking for my iPad, I'm looking for my backpack, and it's all gone. And I'm like, what the fuck just happened? So I go inside and I'm like looking everywhere, and I'm like, I swear I brought this inside last night. I swear I brought this inside. So then I start looking even more, and I'm like panicking, and it turns out, well, my truck was broken into. All my shit was stolen. You know, iPad, notebook, everything, all my life was gone for the past couple months. And I literally don't remember much more than that. But apparently I just shut down. I texted my brother, called my brother, something like that. And I was like, hey, I'm not going to be in. Like, I don't know what just happened. Like, I can't function. This is that. And thankfully, I think that was a huge, beautiful time, because that was me, I think, in a sense, throwing my parachute. Because after that, I actually ended up going on like on a 2-week trip to Broken Bow out of nowhere. And when we were at that trip, I remember telling my wife, like, how is this possible? Like, I'm 26 years old, 27 years old, however old I was at the time. I'm like, and we're on a vacation. I still got paid. The business is still running. And I was able to just like literally out of nowhere just decide we're going to go to Broken Bow. And I have the money to spend. How the hell is this even possible? This is not supposed to be real life. Like, this is literally what people dream of. And I had to make that happen for myself. And I think that opening that parachute was that time of like realizing that, you know what, you do have a parachute.
When was this?
You just have to use it. It was about a year ago. Maybe, about a year ago. And again, up until that point, maybe I didn't realize you had that tool, that parachute, to help you out to in times when you're just hustling a little too hard, that you can lean back, and at the same time helps you realize who you have on your team to help you sustain your life and your business. And at the same time, realizing that you don't always have to be doing all of that all the time. And ever since then, you know, I thankfully after that week, I was really able to refocus and actually really working on the business, building relationships with, you know, with people that are going to help push me and whatnot, and realized that the business I needed to grind in different directions. But plain and simple, that was just a time where I was very uncomfortable, and I was just pushing myself to the limits, and I literally straight up mental breakdown. And I don't remember that day. I pretty much just blacked out more or less for the rest of the day. I didn't do anything stupid, thankfully, or anything like that, but I wasn't productive.
Just go home and sleep.
Yeah, pretty much. That's literally what happened.
Yeah.
And I was like, but at the same time, it was like I felt like I was letting my team down, because here I am, supposed to be one of the leaders, supposed to be in here. And in the back end of my mind, I'm thinking, I'm weak.
Sometimes they don't know, though.
Right.
They have no idea the shit that we
Should they know?
Right. I think so, man.
I mean,
And Abel talks about this a lot, about how he's transparent with his team.
I
Hey,
think
this
so.
is where we're
It
at on
helps.
money.
yeah.
Or, hey, these are the current projects we're working on. Or, hey, we got some really good leads here. Or this is where we need to improve. Or, man, this was a big fail. Like what we talked about in one of our previous episodes was about failures, And you've talked about it as many other episodes about how you are transparent with your team and all those different aspects.
Right.
And how it pays off.
And I think because of that, I think that was it, is realizing that whenever I had that breakdown, it helped me realize that my team is there because they're my team. I didn't necessarily pick them, like they're my brothers and sisters, and I handpicked a couple of guys that are part of the team now. But the whole concept of you can carry a lot more together than you can by yourself, and it may be the same problem, but the second you start sharing that with someone else, it's not so hard anymore. You can lift more weight, you can carry it farther, you can do all this stuff. So I think sharing that with your team, and you don't necessarily have to share everything. Like, let's be real, you can leave a lot of it out. But in the sense of like, hey guys, we're about to take on a brand new builder that's like way out of our league. I just want you guys to know this is way out of our league. What can we do? I need you guys back in where, like, because then you're not carrying the stress all by yourself. Your whole team knows how big of an opportunity this is. That is, you're grinding, you're hustling. So you tell your team, and then, hey, you know what? All of a sudden, everybody comes together to try to make it happen. But at the same time, it's like, hey guys, there's no leads coming in, there's no this or that, and it's like you'd be surprised how quickly your team will shift with you, so long as you're transparent with them. And I think I said a couple weeks ago, same thing. There was no money, and well, not that there's no money, we were short, right? And my little brother came in, and he's like, well, I don't need all that money in my account. Like, you can take, I think it was like $500 from that account. He's like, I can run on way less than that for the next week or two. It's like, dude, that's awesome, because you're being transparent with the team. It helps you, frankly, I feel like, be able to hustle harder without having to take that whole load yourself. But again, sometimes you got to learn that the hard way, and it's not fun.
Facts.
Yeah, one of the topics that we wanted to talk about was how the hustle or the hustle culture or the constant grinding without a break can affect your health. And even you, I think you just experienced this too. And you're like, bro, I need to turn everything off for a week, take a step back, work on myself, like just chill for a minute, and then I can come back with a new mind, a little bit refreshed,
Clear.
right? And I think it's good to do that once a quarter.
It works.
And that was one of my goals in the beginning of the year. I'm not one of those crazy people that set the New Year's goals, right?
No.
I'm setting my New Year's goals right now.
There's another word for it, but I did it this year, and I was like, every quarter I'm going to take a vacation. It could be a staycation or it could be an actual vacation. And so far I've done that. In the first quarter, I went and visited my family in North Carolina. In the second quarter, we visited Leslie's family in Texas. And then next month in October, I'll be going to we'll be doing something else as well. Can't talk about that. And then at the end of the year, right around Christmas time, my family's going to come into town. And
Nice.
so I'm like, okay, in all those scenarios, I get to spend time with the people that I'm closest with, right? Family. And I get to step away from that hustle and that grind, waking up at 4:30 in the morning or staying up till midnight or 1 o'clock working or whatever it is. Sometimes that happens. That happens plenty.
Yeah, right. Or you just go to sleep with that stress on your mind, and then you wake up and it's like stress there, and it's like,
And you can feel it in your
just stayed-
chest.
Shit,
Yeah, I
I didn't
should've
get
just
this
stayed
done
awake.
yesterday.
Yeah,
I don't know about you guys, but sometimes I can feel it in my chest.
oh yeah, dude.
And you're just like, oh, you can't breathe, and all that stuff. So, but anyway, so it's good to do that. And
So on that topic, I think it's interesting to talk about too. Is with you saying that, as well. This year I've taken a lot more camping trips, and that has been my escape with the same thing. Like
Bobby's been doing that too.
Yeah, dude, the camping trips do it for me because, you know, we're the hustle culture. That was hard. I think that's more like an America thing, right? Like we in America tend to feel that way. But the reality is, if you look at the way we were designed as human beings, we're just a bunch of animals. Like, that's just the reality. Maybe a little bit complex, but we're animals. And animals are happy and most productive in the wild, in nature, just raw, no electronics around. And camping has been a saving grace for me this year because whenever I'm out camping, the phone gets turned off or it dies, one or the other. But either way, there's usually very minimal technology. And then you're just surrounded by beautiful, clean air, beautiful nature. And it just reconnects you to the fact of, like, you know what? I don't get to slow down and enjoy what we actually are around. You know, even though Stone and I were outside in the elements, like, more often than maybe you, because you work in an office, like, that's your realm. But most of the time you're working. You're not just enjoying. Like, he says it's hot outside, right? Like, it is hot outside. But the reality is when you're camping, hell yeah, it's hot outside. Let's go swimming. Like, it's different, you know? It's just that's been one of the things that I've taken personally to try to disconnect and realign. And then, like I said, I think a lot of that is trying to keep your sanity and keep your health in check.
Don't spin out.
Right.
Try not to spin out. Man, breaks are huge.
So I've got some suggestions that may point some people in the right direction to kind of help maybe reset when they're kind of hitting that breaking point, when they're hustling over the edge. Keep track of your energy levels. Sometimes we don't even know when our life is out of balance. It encourages us to judge our days based upon how much we've done rather than how we truly feel. Would you agree with that?
I think yes. I talked to you about this yesterday, you know, of like the whole day I felt terrible because, you know, business. Plain and simple. We'll just keep it simple. Yeah, we'll just keep it simple. Business. And then at the end of the day, what happened? You know, I got a phone call that just made my whole day of like, you know what? My energy level wasn't there because that whole stress of business. But in the grand scheme of things, you realign what you're focused on, and all of a sudden you're like reinvigorated. You know, all of a sudden I get that phone call. I'm like, you know what? I can smash these 2 bids out real quick before I head home. And it makes a difference.
Another recommendation is to schedule your rest days and hobby time. So if you're used to being consistently busy and you aren't intentional about blocking out some space for self-care, your to-do list will continue to consume your time. You know, it'll just eat you alive.
What do you do there?
I try to, what I call is like close out my brain. So I've got a list of shit that I generally kind of overview of what I'm doing through the week, and it always sits on my desk and I'm always looking at it. And so I try to like close out my brain to where I can go home and spend a couple hours with my kids if they're there, or a couple hours with Leslie, or a couple hours with myself. Got to do laundry, got to do dishes, got to take care of the dogs, got to take them to do stuff. I got to clean my truck. I got to organize this. Oh, I got to prep for that. You know, and I'm like, sometimes I feel guilty in 2 ways. I feel guilty, like, one, I don't spend enough time with myself, just, I don't know, doing whatever hobby I feel like doing. Most of the time it's like video games. It used to be riding my motorcycle until I sold it. Sad day. And
you have like planned to buy a Ducati or something, don't you?
It's not happening anytime soon.
You got to keep the dream alive, brother.
Oh, it's still a browser tab. Yeah, that's one of my ways of like a reminder.
Right.
Like, okay, that's one of my immediate goals. Like, it's that thing. But I like to try to. I feel that. So the guilt thing. That's what it was. Sometimes I feel guilty that I'm like, oh, I need to be doing X, Y, and Z for work. Don't go home and put that stuff to the side. It needs to get done. And then I have the other guilt that's like, okay, you're not going home. You're staying at work. Now you're not spending time with your kids or with Leslie, right? And sometimes it's challenging.